Welcome to Pelahyah's Healing Begins on the Inside. Vegan Delite, the transitional series, will teach you to make the change with quick, easy recipes. Pelahyah's Healing Begins on the Inside, the transitional series, will help you to cross over to vegan heaven.
Hi, welcome to Pelahyah's Healing on the Inside. In today's episode, we're going to do my version of what is called spinach stew. It is very healthy, very delicious, and very nutritious. So, let's begin. Welcome. So, let's start with the ingredients. What we're going to be using today is fresh spinach, nicely chopped. Well, somewhat chopped. It doesn't really matter because when you cook it, it's going to condense down. We're going to use mushrooms. My favorite is portobello, but the only thing that I could get available today was white mushrooms. We're going to use fresh ginger, just a little bit. We're going to use peppers, which is sombrero peppers in this case. Tomato. We're going to use scallions. We're going to use about 4 cloves of garlic and some coconut milk. And for spices, we're going to use about a heaping teaspoon of chili powder, about half a teaspoon of crushed chilies, about 1/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric, about 1/4 a teaspoon of curry, a pinch of allspice, and a little sea salt if you have it. If not, I like to use this product, which is lower in sodium, which is called liquid aminos. It has a very good flavor and it brings out your dish. Now for oil, what we're going to be using is coconut oil. You can get this at any Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or in the health food section of your local Kroger's. And so let's get started. I've already started preparing the oil into the pan. So we're going to preheat our oil, just about a teaspoon of oil in our pan. And we're going to get that nice and hot so that we can saute our mushrooms, our garlic, scallions, and our sombrero peppers. So let's turn up the heat. Alright, so now we've got the heat going. I'm going to push this to the side, a little bit more room. I'm going to start with our scallions. We're going to get them nice and cut up for our skillet. So, don't be afraid of using the green part. The green part has a lot of flavor and it brings the best out of your dish. So the more you use of your scallions, the better. I love scallions. They have very good flavor and they seem to really bring out the best. So we're going to start with that. Oh, see it sizzling. So you want that nice sizzling sound. But you don't want it to be over sizzling because you don't want it to burn. You just want a little bit. So, and then let's start with your peppers. We can just use one. Now, if you like spicy, this is a really good dish. You want to cut the peppers. Now, if you want it really spicy, you want to include the seeds, which in this case I am going to do. But if you don't want to use the seeds, you'll just cut your pepper down the middle, gut it out, and then just cut the green part. That will make it less spicy, but if you include the seeds in the intersection of your pepper, it's going to make your dish more spicy. So you want to cut that up nice and chopped, and you want to add that to your scallions. And that smells delicious. So you want it to be really nice. Okay, and so now you can see that everything is nicely sauteing in the dish. It's a little oily, but that's okay because we've got a lot more ingredients to add to the dish. But you want this to look nice and crisp still, but you don't want it to be burning. So you want to be careful not to have your heat too high. Now I'm chopping up my onions, and I want to get them, my garlic. And I want to get them nice and minced so that they can bring in their flavor, their portion to the account. So now that we've gotten our garlic, we're going to add that to the dish. You want to turn your knife up inside because garlic seems to stick, and that's what we want. Nice flavor. That smells really, really nice. So now that we've got that simmering, we want to add the mushrooms. We've got about 4 mushrooms that we're going to use today. Now I'm going to chop these up real fast so we can add them into our dish. You can chop them. It doesn't have to be pretty because this is not the main focus. The mushrooms are pretty much as added mushrooms, they're fungus, but they're good bacteria. So it's like you want to add them into the dish. And I love mushrooms because of the chunkiness, the texture, and even though they are pale color, they seem to brings out your dish. Especially in this case where our dish is mostly green. You want to add those mushrooms in. Nicely thin. Be careful. You want to respect your knife so that you don't cut yourself. That's very important. A lot of people take for granted the utensils that are in the kitchen. So you don't want to cut yourself, nor do you want to burn yourself. So we're cutting up the mushrooms. And then we're going to move to our next step. So as you can see, the mushrooms are turning into a nice brownish caramel looking color. And that's awesome. I'm going to change from this knife over to my spoon. Oh, that smells wonderful. Not a high heat, a medium heat. This way your ingredients can blend real well with each other. And they can bring out the flavor of each other. They want to complement each other. You don't want one to over-dominate over the other. And not unless you intentionally want it to be that way. Now, my next ingredient that I'm going to use is a little bit of ginger. Not a lot, but just enough. I don't have a grater, so I'm going to do this the best way that I know how. Now, if you don't really like the ginger chunks in your dish, you can make a ginger paste. And the way that you'll do that is you'll add a little ginger into your blender with some water. Spring water, distilled water, whichever you prefer. And you'll make a grated paste out of it. A lot of people like to blend it, but I like to use organic ginger. Skin on things, hey, there's a purpose for the skin. So throw it all in. And I'm gonna nicely chop this real mince, because sometimes a lot of people don't like the gingery thing, but once you get this sauteed, it's going to soften up and it will bring a good flavor to your dish, and it won't be too overbearing for whomever you're making your dish for. Alright, so next ingredient we're going to use is tomato. I love heirloom tomatoes, but fine tomatoes or your steak tomatoes from your local grocer is good. Just simply cut the middle, simply like that. Make a little V, gut out the middle, and then you want to turn it over to the side. Cut it down in half, and then you just make thin slices. Once you get those thin slices, this is the way I like to chop. It's just simply chop down the sides. So you slice and slice again. Flip it and slice again. And then we're going to add this like this. That's beautiful. The little viney part, just simply make a V down your tomato. Throw that to the side. And you simply slice down the side of your tomato. Flip it around. And then you just slice again. And we're going to add that to the dish as well. And that smells beautiful, y'all. Really beautiful. Now, for our premier vegetable, we're going to mix this up just a little bit. It smells wonderful. Now, for our premier vegetable, which is our spinach. Voila! We're going to add this in. Now with spinach, if you have a big family, you want to keep that in mind. Because if you're cooking for two, one lunch will be fine. But you have to remember that spinach cooks down. Meaning that the more heat that's exposed to it, the smaller it's going to be. It's going to cook down. So if you buy one bunch of spinach, you might be looking at a plate for two. Because this may seem like a lot as we're cooking it and putting into the pot, but it's not. Once you add it in and start stirring it up to the heat, it's going to start to cook down. So you want to keep that in mind for whoever you're cooking for. If you have one or two parties, one bunch will be fine, but if you have more than that, you want to keep that in mind. Alright, so this is really beautiful, y'all. I really love this. And I love spinach. See how it's cooking down? It was overflowing the skillet at first. Now it's mixing in really nice with our other vegetables. And it's condensing down. And we're going to serve this dish over rice. And I've took the liberty of jasmine rice. Jasmine rice is awesome to me. It has a nice hickory taste. It's not overbearing. Or a good, let's see, what else is a good, nice, flavory rice? I like jasmine. Jasmine is good. Alright. So now, we've got all of our ingredients in. We're cooking it down real nice. And this really, really is wonderful. And we don't even have the spices in. This is naturally flavory. Really good. Look at that. Really beautiful. Sorry, y'all. I'm kind of a messy cook. So, more this down. Now at this point, because with the spinach, it's making a liquid. So I want to bring up the heat kind of to evaporate that liquid. Just a little. Alright. So now we've got our spinach condensing down. We've got everything looking beautiful. Let's make a beautiful stew. You don't want it to be dry. You don't want it to be overbearing. You want this to be a stew, which it is. And so that's nice and liquidy. Beautiful. Now let's add our ingredients, our spices. And again, just to recap, we have about a tablespoon of chili powder. We have a half a teaspoon of crushed chilies. We have about a fourth of a teaspoon of turmeric. About a fourth of a teaspoon of curry, about a pinch of allspice, and about a pinch of sea salt. And we're just going to add those flavors in to our ingredients. So wow, that is nice. And then we're going to cook those in, and that makes a beautiful, beautiful melody of flavor. Makes your home smells good. And this is what we want the stew to look like. We want it to look like a stew, warming, welcoming, and filling. So, and like I said, look, this is one bunch of spinach that I've used. And look how it's cooked down. So this will be perfect dish for a party of 2 or 3. Now, we're gonna turn this down because I don't want it to lose that juice. I don't want it to overcook. I want it to simmer. Simmer down, oh, let your heart flow. All right, there we go. And now we're gonna add a little bit of magic ingredient, liquid aminos. Just a little. I put about, I'm not a good measurer, so that would have been about a tablespoon. It depends on your salt tolerance. Now, if you can't tolerate liquid aminos, don't get over exaggerated with it. Now, because we're serving this over rice, I put about a tablespoon of it in this dish because I'm not gonna flavor the rice. This is gonna be the flavor for the rice. And so we're gonna let this simmer just a little bit more. I'm gonna slowly turn the heat down to where it's warm. And then we're gonna come over here to where we're gonna complement the dish. So, let's start on our next dish. Now, I'm gonna complement our stewed rice with some nice ripe plankton. And then with this is gonna give you a sweet. I'm gonna add this into the fire and let this get nice and golden. And you just slice you wanna get a nice, beautiful brown looking plankton. You don't want anything that's looking green because that's not gonna be sweet. You want something that's a little bit brown, but not to where it's overripe, to where it's nice and firm when you, put it into the fire. And it's doing its thing. Now we're gonna let this brown just a little bit. Sorry. Then you're gonna let that cook, and you want it to brown. You don't want it to be sticking. You want to give it a little air so that it can do its thing. And again, on a medium heat, a nice medium heat. And then you're gonna flip this over.